Hi students, I wanted to go over the week 1 objectives so you have a great idea of what I wanted you to do this week. So for this week we're going to start with chapter 2. And chapter 2 is going to introduce you to why we're studying argumentation in the first place. So the first thing you're going to do is read section Why Study the Argument. And then you're going to read what this book offers, and that's sections 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and 2.4. You have 2 assignments that you're going to complete, and you have a reading response that's going to be due on Friday. Now, what I don't want you to do is to jump straight to the assignments before you do the reading. If you do that, what will happen is that you won't be prepared for these assignments. So let me reiterate, you want to start with each module, each page, before you get to the written assignments, okay? So that is the way the course is set up. So the first thing you'll do, look at the objectives, readings, then graded assignments, okay? Excellent. So we're going to click the next button, and the first thing you're going to come to is just a little more explanation about what you're doing. And so I was really thorough in terms of what I wanted you to click on first. And so this is just further explanations as to what I want you to read. Now for number 1, it says, why study the argument? That's section 2.1, and I'm going to show you that in a moment. Next, please read or listen, and that's going to make a little more sense when we get to that section. Section 2.2, types of claims to look for. And then you have section 2.3, and I want you to keep this page in mind. Notice there are 2 hyperlinks. You're going to pick one or the other, and that's going to be the link that you're going to utilize for the reading response and for the assignments that you're going to complete in this module, okay? All right, so just remember they're right here, and I do believe that I have them available to you in another place as well. Number 4, read or listen, and then you're going to complete this assignment. And then there's some other things that you're going to do here. 2.4, same thing. And then this is another reading here. Okay? All right. So just to reiterate, remember on the previous page, it just gave you a quick overview of the objectives. And then on this page, you have links to the readings. Okay? And these are the special readings, the readings that you're going to use to complete assignments. All right. Okay, here we go. Now, this is an online textbook. And the interesting thing about an online textbook is that you don't have to buy a textbook. Yay! Which I think is awesome. Now, the other thing that makes this great is that it allows you the opportunity that if you don't want to read yourself, you can click this button here and it will read the text to you. Now, be very careful with this, because if it's reading to you, there's a tendency not to pay attention. So if it's reading to you, please stop and then annotate. Take notes as it's reading. Or if you're reading it yourself, make sure to take notes because you can utilize your notes when you are completing the written assignments. Okay? So even though you have this information here, I have an expectation that you're going to read all of the information that I provide for you before you complete the written assignment. So this is section 1.2, what this book offers. Okay, the next section, why study argument? Okay, so go ahead and read this section. And this gives you an overview of why we are studying argumentation. Okay? All right. The next section, 2.1, reading to write. Okay, so this is an overview of 2.1. And this is actually the writer of this book. And last semester, we actually lost the book online, and she was so gracious to provide the book for us in a download. So not a problem if we should lose it again. It's available to us online. Nevertheless, I want you to take notes as you're reading, okay? All right. Next, types of claims. Now, as you're reading, you are welcome to do some of the activities that are listed here in the textbook, but unless I assign it to you as a homework assignment, it is just for your practice, okay? All right, next. All right, so this is another section. Once again, you're just reading and taking notes, okay? Reading and taking notes. Now, as you can see, this is different. This is an actual assignment. And so what I would like for you to do is to read the directions. It says, using section 2.3, please read or listen, and it tells you the section. And then it says, for a reading selection assignment, please create a table of marginal notes for the article that you choose from page in week 1 objectives. And then it says the reading selections and assignments, and identify claims made in the article in one column and type of claim in the other column. I will post an example for you to follow. It says you need to have at least 5 claims and 5 identification of claim types in column 2. So, what do I want you to do? I created an example of what I want you to do. So here is an example right here. And what you can do, you can either print this out or you can enlarge this so you can see the example, and you can click on that, and so you can make that large so you can see it, okay? And then you can click the escape button, and then it goes right back to the directions. And then I've given you directions again on what I want you to do for this assignment, okay? So as you were reading those 2 articles, I asked you to take notes, and using your notes, I want you to create the same type of table that I've created here, okay? So you may say, Dr. Stovall, I don't know how to create a table. Have no fear. I created one for you. So go ahead and print this one out, and then you can type your notes into that table. It is a Microsoft Word doc, okay? And so all you will have to do is just download that onto your computer, and then you should be able to type into those boxes and put your information in the table, okay? Now, before you do that, please make sure that you disable AI in your computer, especially in Microsoft Word and Google Docs. Also, you'll need to make sure that when you're uploading your assignments, that you are uploading Microsoft Word docs or DocX. It will not accept a Google Doc assignment. It will not accept a PDF. It will only accept a Microsoft Word doc or DocX file. Okay? Also, if you utilize AI, it will come back as cheating. So the English department considers the usage of AI as cheating. So please do not use AI. Don't use Grammarly or any kind of word processor that uses a generative word processing unit, or any kind of grammar assisted program that would change your content. Okay, and if you have any questions on that, please send me an email. I'll be happy to discuss that with you. Okay, so that's going to be this assignment. And as you can see, I have a rubric listed here. It's worth 10 points, and this tells you if you have all of the components that I've asked in the directions, you get a 10 out of 10. If you're missing 2 components, 7 out of 10. If you're missing 3 or more, 5, okay? And if you're missing more than 3, it's still going to be 5, okay? Hopefully it won't be too many more than 3. All right, let's move on to the next. And then we have some more information I would like for you to read and take notes. Let's move on to the next. And then now we have a discussion. And all I want you to do in this discussion is to look at this article, read it, and then I want you to identify the main point. And what would that look like? Well, here it is. I would just like for you to provide one sentence. One sentence. And in that sentence, I would like for you to identify the author, title, and the main point of that article. I'll say it again. One sentence. And here is an example of one sentence with the author, title, and main point. And that's the only thing I want to see in your submission. Okay? Now, if you submit a blank submission and then you type in a submission, you're going to get a 0 for that assignment. Okay? So blank submissions count. So don't put a 0 or put in a space because you're going to get a score for that. So you want to make sure that you don't hit reply and not have anything in there. You want to hit reply when you're ready to submit your sentence. All right? Excellent. Let's move on. And finally, we have our reading response. And I'm going to ask that when you are ready to submit your reading response, that you really look at all of the directions that I have for you for the reading response. I have provided for you a sample reading response. Your reading response should follow the example I have here. Okay? If you have any questions about the reading response, please send me an email. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. And that concludes the information about week 1. Have a wonderful first week.